Happy Homebrew Wednesday. I've got a beer, homebrew, no less. That's a West Coast IPA, which I brewed last week. Sorry, I brewed a few weeks ago. I put it in the keg last week. I don't want to say too much about it because obviously there's going to be a Grain the Glass video at some point. I'm kind of dragging my feet on Grain the Glass videos. I'm just got a bit bored. I was saying this before with the whole Grain the Glass thing and just making brewing videos. I know that this is kind of what this channel is. I just got a bit bored with it, so I was thinking about something else I could do. And there's something I've been thinking about ever since the new Grainfather came out a few weeks ago. The G40 and the S40. Now, it does look a good machine. I am interested in definitely upgrading. But, obviously the price point on it is... This is a whole other conversation anyway, but the price point's not exactly is luring me in. But the thing I was thinking about was... I don't know how I came to this, but if I was like a new brewer, new to brewing, is that the machine I would go with? And I got to thinking, basically, if I was a new brewer, what kind of advice would I offer myself, my past self, from this vantage point? And that was one of the things that kicked it off. Basically, would I, as a novice, get a machine like that? And I was thinking that I would definitely invest, but I would invest in the right equipment. I think the cold side of brewing is so much more important than the hot side. So temperature control, fermentation, an Inkbird is definitely number one on the list. Fridge is number two. In fact, the two of them go hand to hand because you can't really have one without the other. Otherwise it's a bit pointless. And the third one then is kind of the little lamp. So the fermentation fridge I have and most people have is an old fridge. The first fridge I bought was like 4 years ago and it cost me £30 second hand. And I've still got it and it still works and I'm amazed. And it sat out in this garage for that length of time. Through like 3 winters. And then obviously the fourth one was in here, which is a bit more insulated. But yeah. So basically £30 for that. It was like 30, I think it was 30 or 35 for the Inkbird, and then another 10 or 15 for the actual lamp, the heating lamp. That was it. And that has been the biggest leap I have had in my brewing career, my brewing history, is that temperature control. And before I was kind of doing it in the house and in different rooms of the house. It would get warm or cold and cool at different times of the year. And as soon as I started using the fridge, I saw that the quality of the beer just went from there to there, almost literally overnight, the first time I did it. And that was a real eye-opener. So I would say that should be the first thing. If I was a novice brewer, that would definitely be the first thing to do. And not forget about, because you obviously need you need your boil kettle, you need your water heater, sparge water heater and whatnot, but I wouldn't spend £1,000, £1,100, whatever it is, on a Grainfather and then not have any kind of temperature control. I'm not saying that that systems like that, or even that one I have at the minute. The good thing about that is you have complete control over the mash temperatures, and that is the one thing that stands that machine over the old machine, which is basically just a water heater. I seem to be able to get better temperature control with the Brewzilla. So it's not. I'm not saying that it's useless or anything like that, or those kind of machines are useless. They do have a place. Second one then would just be to slow down in my brewing. Certainly in the first few years, I was just brewing. I was trying to brew every week because I was thinking that the more you brew, the more you learn and the more you can improve, which was the case, yes, but the consequences of that were that I was ending up trying to push beers, trying to force the beers to finish too early, taking them off yeast cakes when they weren't ready, and you were getting all kinds of not very good beer basically because of that. Now if I need beer in a hurry, I now have 2 fridges. So one I use as a fermentation fridge all the time, and the other one is like a part-time fermentation fridge, and the rest of the time it's just a beer fridge. So I haven't drilled any holes or anything in it like the fermentation fridge. The stuff that's in there, the little heater, the lamp heater, and the temperature controller, they can just come out the door, and they're just basically going in through the door at the front. And it's still you can still close the door because of the kind of, you know, the, I don't know what that's called, you know, that rubber stuff on the side of the door. It keeps the cold air in, so it closes around that. I guess letting the beers condition as well too. I remember when I first got that Greg Hughes book for the first time, Homebrew Beer. It's in here somewhere, I'm guessing. And I was looking through all the recipes. This is like years and years ago. Through all the recipes, and everything was like conditioning time of like 6 weeks, 6 weeks, 6 weeks, 6 weeks. And I was like, what? Why would you want to wait 6 weeks? Because I know they want the beer to be finished and you want to be drinking it in no time. Like that. I mean, it's only a week old. But it definitely does help to let the thing condition out properly. For like New England IPAs, obviously, you know, you want it fresh. IPAs as well. But in the main, it's better to condition it properly. So the next bit then would be to use the best ingredients that you can afford. Don't scrimp. Okay, so at the start I was like buying grain based on the price, a price buyer, that's it. And well, that, I mean, you might be able to get away with that at the start, but I think as you get more experienced and more kind of, you improve everything else, you want to also improve the ingredients as well. So I really do notice the taste in different kind of malts now. And the stuff that I was getting before, I don't get now. I don't go anywhere near. I have very specific needs, I say, wants and needs in terms of the grain. I'm paying that a little bit extra. It does cost a bit more. Like a sack of, I bought a sack of Bohemian Pilsner, and it was like £36 for a sack. And you can get ordinary stuff for like £30 for a sack. So there's only like £6 difference, which is not a great deal when you're talking about a sack of grain, compared to like buying small quantities, you know, like 5 or something kilos at a time. So yeah, but the difference in flavour is definitely it's definitely real, and it's noticeable. Now that I'm using the good stuff all the time, you really do notice the difference in quality. It's the same with like yeast and all those kind of. I'm not saying that you need to get like buy a brand new liquid yeast every time you want to brew. I mean dry yeast. I use a lot of dry yeast now, just because I can use it fresh, and I don't need to like try and save some or trying to grow up my own, regrow the yeast or whatever. No, I just use the fresh stuff. The dry yeast is every bit as good as the liquid yeast. The only difference is that really that you get more choice with the liquid yeast. You use a lot more. But these days, certainly like in the last year or two, it's really kind of increased the amount of choice you have in the dry yeast as well. So I'm kind of going toward that a lot more now than I was before, and the results. And it's cheap enough that you can basically use a packet, or even with lagers, 2 packets, and then just not save it, and then use another packet or 2 packets the next time. Cross My Loof do a lot of very good yeast. If you haven't checked out their website, you should definitely do it. And check out some of that dry yeast to do, because it's really excellent. What else then? Probably taking notes, actually, as I drink that beer. I'm not necessarily talking about notes, taking notes on a brew day. I mean, I do that as well. I was never really a good one for taking notes at all at the start, in the first few years. It was more kind of just brewing and seeing the results. But it wasn't until I started doing like YouTube videos, especially, are being helpful. But it's the tasting video really afterwards, the tasting, because then you get to, you're reminded what that beer tasted like. So the next time you go to brew it, it's already in your head as to what it is. Because I do brew days that I don't record the videos of, and my knowledge of what the beer actually tastes like afterwards when I'm not doing a video is quite hazy. It can be quite hazy. Maybe remember one or two flavours of whatever it tastes like. It's very helpful to use Brewfather as well now. All the kind of recipes I do are in Brewfather, and then I'll put like a few lines of exactly what it tasted like, and if you could improve it, what would you do? Stuff like that. So that the next time I go to a fancy like a dark lager or something like that, I'll go in and have a look at the recipe, and then there'll be notes at the end saying, I think you should do this and this. Basically a note to my future self to how to improve it. You just have to look for the flavour every time you drink it. So not just drinking beer and sitting in front of the TV, but drinking beer and then thinking about the beer as you're drinking it, and then maybe look at the recipe, and then you can see, oh, it does have a pine notes, and does have the bouquet of strawberry milkshake through crushed velvet straw or whatever nonsense they come up with these days. But you know what I mean, I'm being a bit flippant there, but yeah, it's just really taking notes, mental notes even, as to what it is you're drinking and how that applies to the recipe that you've just made. I suppose the last thing actually would be having a dedicated space, which is something that I never had. Now I know everybody's situation is different, and some people like me are fortunate to have a bit of space and a settled life. You know, this house is not long built that I was in, and I had a family, and I had kind of had time and space, basically, which is not something that everybody has. If you're living in like a flat somewhere, which God knows I did for like 10 years, you don't have space. You don't have room for like a fridge, never mind 2 fridges, a freezer and a geyser over there. So, but if you like move into a house, a new house somewhere, get a space, claim that space, because that is going to be super useful in the future. And just being able to, you know, I always had this garage, but it never occurred to me that I could like build a little separate section in here until way later, and I probably should have done it sooner. I always thought that I was really rubbish at DIY and all that, which I'm not. I'm not a master at it now, but I am a lot better. I have been taught by the best teacher of all, which is YouTube. If you have the space, then do something with it, really, because it is super useful, and super handy, just to have the stuff in here, to have everything I need. Got the electrical points. Even if you think you're shit, like I thought I was shit at DIY, and I managed to build this, put a door frame in, which was really hard, but I managed to do it. Did the electrics for the lights in here and in there. I put an extra plug socket in there, fed from the plug socket over there, and I put an outside light on, and the place hasn't burnt down. I mean, see, the one thing I'm most proud of is the electrical socket out there. So that means I can now brew outside the door. I can bring that outside and have it plugged in inside, and I don't need any kind of extension lead or anything like that. That is the thing I'm most proud of. So that is it. That is the advice I would give myself if I was starting again. So to recap, it would be invest in the right equipment. Don't get carried away by the blinding flashy lights. Just get the cold side sorted before anything. Get the cold side sorted. Even if you're brewing in a bucket, it doesn't matter. Get the cold side sorted, and the beer will taste far better than if you brew a beer with expensive equipment, with flashing lights, but you have no temperature control. Second one, slow down. Just slow down. You don't have to brew every week. You don't have to force the beer off the yeast cake. Do not do that. That is a big mistake. Do not do that. Slow down. Take your time. Let the beer finish. And let it condition as well too. The best ingredients. Get the best ingredients you can afford. If you can only afford the cheapest malt, then just get it. It's fine. It really is fine. But when you get to the stage where you've refined your process, then that's where you're going to notice the difference. And that's how it's like, the cliche is Dave Brailsford on British Cycling, and it's like every tiny little bit, marginal gains they call it, every tiny little bit goes towards a big improvement. And take notes about what you're tasting, and just keep doing that. The more you think about what you're drinking, the better you are at tasting, and the better you'll be at doing the recipes, because then you'll know what you're tasting. And then lastly, just get a dedicated space. If you have the room, never mind what the wife says, okay? Just throw all the crap out. That's your space, okay? Claim it and defend it with your life. I'm not sure where I was going there. It's drunken ramble. Cheers. See you next week.